Hello, my name is Sentana-Ries. This is part 6 of articles I wrote 17 years ago which I now place under the heading No Banker in Our Paradise. Today is December 5, 2016. For nearly 20 years since the inception of the Internet I have identified myself as being authoritative to the issue of finance, and state emphatically that the current financial system must not be reformed, but be abolished, and this for the purpose of freeing the people from the yoke to a system which does not work in the people's favor, as it only makes a minority rich which controls the process. My position on this issue is part of the authority of an office to which I am the holder. This office is also recognized by all high councils of this universe. And yet the office I hold is no threat to anyone. It only deals with the issue of restoring a paradise to all people which was lost many thousands of years ago. Therefore no listener of my words should become offended or threatened from an implementation of the thoughts I put forth by the words I speak, or spoke 17 years ago, as they focus on one thing only, and that is to give back to the people their paradise which was lost eons ago, consisting of an environment conducive to the people's bliss, a surrounding which I have called in my writings a paradise, even though it merely is one at the lowest level of what we can rightfully call a paradise. The essays which follow were all posted on a discussion forum of Arabia.com and Baladna.com and were also placed on our own websites at the turn of the century. We offer these audio files as a free gift under Creative Fair Use copyright rules. The text in spoken words may therefore be freely copied, distributed, and stored in any electronic format, provided no text is altered and the author's name is not disconnected from quotations of any length. All commercial copyrights are reserved by the publisher. And now we shall continue with the articles I posted on the 16th of May in 1999, the title of the set I have slightly modified, now calling it, The IMF and World Bank International Financiers Are Sorely Mistaken. I also have on occasion modified the wording to improve the style of the text presented here. Headline: A word on money hoarding. Let us not think for a moment that by making a lot of money nobody gets hurt in the course of it, but rather let us remember that profits come from people already struggling for the most part with rising costs of living. Mr. Bill Gates, for example, is being admired and envied by all who learn of his personal fortunes large enough to pay off national debts of nations, yet people forget that excessive profits are just as much a drain on the money supply than usury. And why is that? Because all banked money is money drawn out of circulation. It sits there doing nothing unless it is being spent back into circulation. And as it sits dormant in a bank account, the people who have borrowed it into existence can either not pay back their loans or are being forced into bankruptcy. Mr. Bill Gates' money is needed in circulation in order for people to be able to pay back their loans. If Mr. Gates had been more modest in his profit expectations, then he would have left a much larger portion of his profits in the people's pockets by selling his products for less and thus helped in reversing inflation, where inflation is an inordinate increase in costs to the consumer. But granted, the greed problem of Mr. Gates is tiny when compared to the disastrous effects of banking usury. Banks and big business are like enormous vacuum cleaners on funds in circulation, and their owners don't seem to care one whit of how much money they suck out of an economy. Whatever they can legally get away with is what they will take, and leave the people always short on money to pay back their loans or mortgages. The difference between Mr. Gates and the banks is that Mr. Gates may just spend his fortune back into circulation, but banks never keep record of the billions they extract in usury. And if the man in the street wants his money back he paid in interest to a bank, he has to go back to a bank and borrow once again the monies which he had already paid in the form of usury. Sentana-Ries, posted on the 16th of May 1999, 6:51 a.m., Jordan. Next headline: Starvation in the midst of abundance. The financial elite knows that money is the connecting link between a society's production and that same society's consumption. And here the society which produces is the same that also consumes, for we are all members of that society. In the past we have proven to be capable of enormous production if given that opportunity. Our engineers help us with automation and robotics in order to free up manual labor so we can have more holidays. The purpose of automation is to free up people from mundane labor so they have more time to themselves. However, since money has become the link between production and consumption, it is theoretically possible for the hate-motivated banker to remove that link and deny society access to its own production in order to make many go hungry in face of overfilled stores filled with food and other necessities. One can only compare the ridiculousness of this situation to a farmer's family producing chicken, vegetables, beef, carrots, and so on, and along comes a government official at supper time saying, "You can't eat unless I give you a permit to do so." The permit was denied, and our farmer's family went hungry. They were denied access to their own production, and that is what is happening to society today under existing banking rules. There is no righteousness nor justice in the banking system of today, just misuse of power. The food and department stores are brimming with commodities for consumption, and so is the real estate market, the car lots, the travel industry, etc. All are vying for customers, who are also consumers, to take some of the surplus off their hands so they don't have to close shop and haul everything off to the dump. And yet the masses of the people wander aimlessly through the shopping malls, wishing they had the money to fill some of their personal needs from their own production. They all have helped to put it there, but once it ended up on the shelf of another, their own production became inaccessible to them as consumers. Why? Because the link was missing in their pocketbooks. And so many began to see starvation in the midst of abundance. Rennie Sentana-Ries, posted on May 16, 1999, 6:54 a.m., Jordan. End of Part 6. To be continued in Part 7, where we will look at the dilemma of automation by today's financial standards. Happy listening.